All right, all right, all right. Looks like we are live. Well, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to so many of you. And I'm going to do something rare that I haven't really done a whole lot of, but I'm going to give you guys a very special sneak peek right now as to some of the types of work that we do with the people that we end up working with. And if you are at a place where you're asking, man, like, I am just so sick. Or if you're telling yourself, I'm just so sick of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm so sick of living stuck in this just enough sort of place or this sort of land of scarcity. And if you ever wondering why consciously you can want something so bad, like let's just talk about tonight having more than enough. So having an abundance, not just having just enough to get by, just enough to scrape by, just enough to pay my bills. But do you ever wonder why you can consciously want that, but then it almost feels like there's some part of you that is sucking you back into paycheck to paycheck, almost like a black hole, almost like an addiction. Like it's almost like, man, why after year after year after year, I know I wanna get out from underneath this. I know I don't wanna be in this place, but I keep finding myself back here. Like, what is the deal? It's like a magnet that just keeps sucking you back in, like I said, or like a black hole. And what I want to invite you guys to ask yourselves, and this is going to be a very interactive training. So, again, if you're here, leave me a comment. Let me know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, and let us know. Leave any questions or things that you guys have any comments. Let us know that you're here. We're going to interact a lot on this little live that we're going to do together. It's really a training. And what I really want you guys to ask is and question is the reason why you're feeling that way, is it really because of the unexpected expenses or the emergencies that come out of left field? Is that really why you're still stuck? Just question it, because guys, again, I've talked with hundreds of people every month, and it's like, and guys, here's the thing: like after so many times of hearing from people, these are the types of questions that people think are really the problem. The reason why I'm here, well, it's the unexpected expenses. Every time I seem to get savings and things like that, it's something always seems to come up. Probably said that before. You probably heard that before come out of your mouth or your spouse's mouth or even a friend's mouth or a family member's mouth who's been dealing with this. Ask yourself, is it really my employer? Is it really the economy? I got laid off. I had this thing come up. Is that really why you've been stuck? Is that the real deal? Hey, Eric, it's good to see you. Definitely tune in, man. You're going to love this. And Tracy, is it really our lack of a budget? Is that what's really keeping us stuck? Okay. Or or you're gonna wanna pay very guys, I'm telling you, this is gonna be one of the best trainings you ever watched if this is describing you. Maybe the best. I will say it's gonna be the best because 'cause I'm gonna make it the best for you, okay? Or is it something you've never faced before, and is it something that you've never known existed? And the answer is most likely the latter, and we're gonna dig into that right now. And while all of the other things are relevant, right? We do have emergencies. We do have things come up that we can't plan. Budgets are helpful. Having a stable position or having a great economy, those are all great things. But what we found to be true is it's none of those things really ultimately that are the main reason why you keep finding yourself not able to move from a place of scarcity into abundance. And this is what we're going to talk about. So if that's you, I'm telling you, you're going to want to share this with a friend right now. You're going to want to share this with your spouse right now. You're going to say, honey, stop, turn off the television, wake up from your nap. It's like, you got to listen, guys. I'm telling you, grab a pen and paper. We are going to go deep. We're going to get some of you massive breakthrough right now. I'm not overestimating this. I'm not hyping this up. This is just true. Okay. So again, if you feel like something is keeping you just stuck and you're not able to move past it, guys, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull back the curtain and I'm going to give you guys just a sneak peek into some of the types of things that we find are really keeping people stuck. And this is really important because, guys, I'm telling you, these are not the common things that you're going to hear. Okay. Some of you guys have been through some big financial programs, some church programs, some different things like that. You've read a lot of books on financial stuff. This is something that's not talked about very often. And honestly, it breaks my heart because it is one of the primary things that keeps people stuck in a place of scarcity and just living paycheck to paycheck. And it's not all the common stuff like, oh, you just don't know how to save, or you don't know the right strategy, to which budgeting app, or you don't know which bank account to park your money, or you don't know. It's none of those things really ultimately the problem. Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to start with myself. I'm going to be transparent with some of you guys and talk about my own struggles with this. So never in my life had I ever really been able to sustain abundance. Okay. I was almost always living in, I really was always living in a place of paycheck to paycheck. Growing up, that was the common theme. Never really had a lot. Never really had more than enough. And even when we got married, same thing. I just basically kind of relived the narrative of my own parents and things like that. And anytime we had some sort of savings, it did not last long. It just didn't. And it just, before you know it, it's like poof, it just would kind of vanish in the wind. And there came a point where I started to wonder, like, is there some part of me that is sabotaging me, that's sucking me in, like I said, like a black hole into scarcity? And it was really weird because it was almost like whenever I would get back to that place of just enough to survive, it would almost feel like this creepy, like almost like welcome home. And every time I would get to that place of abundance and having a big, nice emergency fund and things like that, it would get there was some part of me that was very uncomfortable with it. It felt very unnatural. It felt very strange. It felt very weird. And I would find myself over time starting to drift back into that old place. You start doing well, you start to breathe, and before you know it, you go back into that place. And if you guys are at a place where, again, you don't find yourself moving beyond your current situation, here's the truth, okay? I want you to write this down. The reason why you're still stuck in just enough, you're still stuck in paycheck to paycheck, or you're trying to save, and even if you have saved or you've got some savings, you've already gone back, you've already dipped into it, or you're afraid, you just, part of you feels like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop and for that savings to get sucked up again. It's because your subconscious has been programmed not to allow you to move beyond this situation. Your subconscious has not allowed you to move into abundance. Now I'm going to unpack about all this stuff. Subconscious? Like, what do you mean by subconscious, Jeremy? That's a really, it's kind of like a woo woo, sort of like, sounds kind of like a new agey word. No. Okay. Your subconscious is that part of your brain that stores memories. It's what stores how you really feel about things. Right. So even if you think, if you were, you know, let's say you were a victim of some sort of assault and there was a certain lighting in the room, and the window is in a certain place and things like that. Even just for instance, okay, if somebody was in a situation like that, they were assaulted or things like that, what happens is sometimes with those people, when they end up in a situation like that again, even if they're not an assault, they're just talking with a friend or family member, it's the same position, same part of a room. They start to have that subconscious response, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling anxious, things like that. Now, that's not their conscious mind at work, that's their subconscious, because it stores memory. It stores some of these deeper beliefs and emotions and things like that that we're dealing with. Okay. So there's the front part of your brain. There's a part, that's like very much the thinking, the rational, the conscious part. But again, there's a subconscious part of what we all think, and that's again what's storing some of these very deep programs that are ultimately keeping us stuck and are keeping you in a place of sabotage. To where you keep trying to move forward, but it's like, you take one step forward, you take one step back, and it's like I can't ever seem to move beyond. Sometimes it's like one step forward, two steps back. And so here's the thing, guys. Here's the truth, though. Even though your subconscious has been programmed to keep you there, what I want you guys to know is that your subconscious is really your friend. It's there. It was given to you by God to keep you safe. It was there by God to protect you. Ultimately, that's what it's trying to do. It's not trying to destroy your life. It's just trying to protect you from what it thinks is going to hurt your life or make it worse. Or what's going so again, fear, like let's just talk about fear, for instance. Okay, fear is a good thing. Like if you're being chased by a grizzly bear, that's a good thing. But the thing is that a lot of us have fears about things that aren't even really real. We make up fears, we make up things in our lives that really aren't that scary or aren't going to kill us, like riding a roller coaster, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. It's like, are you really going to die? No. But there's a part of you that's been programmed to believe that. And that's ultimately what keeps you from ever getting on a roller coaster. Is it's things like that. It's certain programs. And so here's the thing, guys, like when it comes to it, like let's just talk about again my own story with abundance. there was a part of me that I'm going to unpack, what was my biggest struggle. If you are a Christian, I'm telling you, this is probably number 1 or number 2 or maybe number 3 for you. I can guarantee you it's almost there somewhere. So please listen to me. You're going to get some massive value, guys, from this training. It's going to be phenomenal. Okay? The truth is that in the past, I would say like, God, I receive abundance. Like I receive it. Like whatever you want to bring, like I receive it. Like I'm open. I'm willing. I'm ready to receive whatever you have for me. But because there was this part of my subconscious, I'm going to talk about this in a second. What was there? But there was a part of me that was afraid of it. There was a part of me that thought that really subconsciously it was gonna make my life worse, and so it was like every time I would try, like, abundance would come, it was kind of like saying, "God," or telling someone, "Hey, I receive your hugs," and whenever they try to hug you, you take one step back. And every time they hug you, I take one step back. And I would keep taking a step back because it was almost like if someone tried to hug you, but then all of a sudden they pulled a knife out, you'd be like, oh, I don't want that. Oh, I don't want that. And it's kind of one of those things, guys, where if you find yourself continuing to not have any sort of abundance or beyond or having more than enough, I'm promising you there is some part of your subconscious that is resisting it because it is afraid of what's going to happen when it comes or what it's going to take or something like that in order to get it. Okay. And we're going to talk about that, guys. This is so, 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 so important. This is so important because I'm telling you guys, like most people, they never talk about this. And this is what ultimately keeps people stuck. Okay. So, guys, here's the thing. Even with that example that I just gave, here's what I'm talking about. So, for me in the past, what it was is, and this is what I want you to ask yourself if you're taking notes, which you should be, okay? I want you to write down, is there some kind of reward I think I'm going to get by having just enough? Because this is really what's the truth, okay? Ask yourself, what do I feel like I'm going to get by just having enough? Or another question, what's the punishment that I fear from getting abundant and having more than enough? Okay, it's usually one of those two things. One of those two questions will usually sniff it out, okay? And so here's the thing. So for me personally, I'm going to talk about this from my personal perspective, and this is honestly one of the biggest stumbling blocks for Christians, is that I believed by having abundance or by having just enough and be paying paycheck to paycheck, it was going to keep me dependent upon God. It was going to keep me more dependent upon God. It would make me want to pray more. I would have a deeper relationship with God because whenever I would be stuck in that place of scarcity and how am I going to pay things and and like, man, what if an emergency comes in, like, God, please, we need you to come through. God, we need you. And I would cry out to him and I would be so broken. I would cry and I would feel so connected to God in those moments of desperation. And so what would happen is whenever I would start to have more than enough, my prayers changed and they weren't prayers of desperation anymore. They were mostly just giving thanks and getting and like talking with God about other things. But what happened is that I really associated a dependence upon God through desperation as like what gives me rich relationship with God and communion with God. And so there was this part of me subconsciously that believed that if I lost that, I would lose my relationship with God. Or even worse, if I became abundant, I wouldn't pray. I'm like, what would I even need to pray for? Everything would be there. I wouldn't have any real huge need. I'd have my daily bread. I would have like everything I would need. So what am I praying about? Obviously, there's other types of prayer. There's Thanksgiving and intercessory and all these sorts of things, but that was just my working definition. Okay. And again, this was there, guys, after years of Bible college and training. It's like I know the Bible verses, I knew things like that. But guys, this was just the truth. I know that what prayer was, but that was the thing for me. And I was afraid of lots of different things. I was afraid of like when you think about what's the punishment that I was afraid of, ultimately I was afraid of going to hell. I was afraid that if I had more money, it would corrupt me, that it would make me a worse person. I'd become materialistic, that I would be stuck in a place, I would get arrogant and that ultimately, guys, I would be opposed by God. It says God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. It's like I'd be opposed by God and I might end up in hell. Even then, guys, even some people, we hear this all the time. The love of money that money is the root of all evil. Well, guys, like if you believe that, what happens when you get a lot of money? You're gonna become evil. I see that on our ads and things like that. I see people say stuff like that. We've had clients that quote verses like that, and I'm like, no, that's not what the verse says, but things like that. And so, guys, like I literally don't have time to unpack every single fear that comes up for people, or every single false belief that keeps people stuck. We don't have time to do that on this. This is why we work with people over the course of weeks, because there's things that need to be rooted out that are just far too, extensive for me to get into right now. But I'm trying to give you guys just a little bit of a taste of what are some of the things that could be keeping you stuck. So, in other words, guys, like my belief was that if I never had wealth, it would keep me from being opposed by God. My soul would be safe. My soul would be safe. If I don't become rich, it's like, well, then I'm not ever going to make God money my God. My soul will be safe. So, might as well just stay poor. Might as well just stay struggling. Things like that. But, guys, here's the truth. Like, when you, even just with that specific example, because I just want to unpack that one. If you are living paycheck to paycheck or you are broke, the truth is, guys, is that there are just as many temptations for sin as when you are very wealthy and abundant. And when you are living paycheck to paycheck or barely getting by and have just enough for you tend to struggle more with anxiety. You struggle more with envy, jealousy, anger, lots of things like that. And what's funny is that when I think about the times in my life where I've had barely enough money to get by and where I've had a lot of money, I actually find myself struggling less with a lot of those really big sin issues, because I can actually focus on other people, and I can and I'm not in this place of constant fight or flight, and this constant fear and anxiety and overwhelm and oh my gosh, and how am I going to do this? All those sorts of things. And so, guys, here's the truth: is like when you're broke, because people are always like, oh, if you have lots of money, it's like you're gonna love money more than God. Like, because the truth is, guys, like when you are broke and barely struggling, like to get by, or you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you don't have a big savings, it's like you become preoccupied by money, and it's like money can become your God, and you can love God, you can love money just as much, as you could love money if you're wealthy. So the truth is, guys, I'm just giving you guys like a little bit of a taste. I'm like trying to help you guys at least get through one of these bigger things and help you guys start to identify it so you can know what's going on. Is that even just a belief like that, if you are carrying around a belief like that, or again, like that, maybe, and again, the beliefs are there because they feel real, they feel legitimate. Like a lot of you guys have maybe had family members, you've known someone who ended up becoming wealthy, and all of a sudden one day you think, man, this person is like super arrogant, or man, they walked away from God, or man, all they do is talk about their stuff. And so what happens is, again, guys, through experiences, through lots of different things, we get these programs in our mind that keep us stuck that keep us stuck. One of your fear could be fear of letting it all go. So by what is it? What's the payoff or what's the reward of staying stuck? Well, it's like, well, you can't lose a lot. So if you only have $1,000 at any given point in time, it's like, well, man, if I lose something, I don't have to lose $1,000. It's like going to the casino, right? If you have 20 bucks, you're like, well, at least I lost 20 bucks. But if you go in there with 20,000 bucks, like, man, I lost $20,000. So again, a lot of times it's the fear of loss. And that's why you don't do it. It's like the same reason why a lot of people don't ever get in a relationship with somebody, get married if they've been in an abusive relationship or their parents were abusive in their marriage to each other, things like that. They're like, well, like I don't ever want to, if I don't ever love, then I can't be hurt. So if I don't ever have money, then I can't be hurt by losing it. That could be another one, because maybe you've seen people lose it all. Maybe you experienced that and it was very painful. So you're like, if I have just enough, I don't have to go through a big loss, right? Just like if you have a relationship with another person and you keep kind of like a shallow relationship, you don't allow yourself to go deep and be intimate because you're afraid, because you know that if I don't do that, then if they move away or if they eventually reject me or things like that, then at least it wasn't a big loss. Same reason why you're not allowing yourself to be intimate with abundance is because if you don't have that tight knit relationship and you don't have a great savings and you're very closely connected to that, then it's not a big loss if something takes it away, whether it's something happens to the economy or things like that. It's like whatever you think is going to happen to it and why it would happen, that you don't have to feel that pain. You don't have to feel that sense of regret. That could be another one. A lot of times, again, it could just be that, like, again, you might think that maybe and again, we've seen this with other people, maybe growing up, your parents or somebody would always come in and give you gifts of money and things like that. And so maybe the reason why subconsciously you're resisting it is because, well, if I have all this money and I'm good, I don't need anyone's help. My dad won't need to help me anymore. I won't need my mom's help anymore, things like that. And maybe that was the way that they express love. And so there could either be some part of you that's afraid of losing that love or losing that connection with them, or that it would hurt them because they couldn't express their love through giving. Guys, that's just a handful, guys. I'm promising you. I'm sure if you've gotten this far and you're watching this, you might already be going, man, I could kind of see where that could be. But guys, really what I'm saying again is that subconsciously, there's some part of you that has been programmed to think that there's some kind of reward or payoff by staying in this position, or that something really bad is going to happen if you get to that place of having abundance. And that's why it keeps drawing you back in, it keeps sucking you back in because it's just trying to protect you. It wants you to stay in that, it wants you to keep the reward, it doesn't want you to be punished. But really, guys, you have to learn how to erase and rewire and make your subconscious work for you and put in the programs and the beliefs that are actually going to get you to abundance and feel comfortable getting there and then sustaining it along the way. That's the trick. And that's what really no one else talks, guys. Again, there's a lot of great, informational books, and I love so many different things that are out there. But again, it's not hitting it on this level. It's very superficial. It's all about like, hey, crunch these numbers in a calculator and, put this budget in a, thing in a spreadsheet, or, have these meetings together once a week. And guys, again, all of these things they're good things, but it's not usually the main thing. It's not usually the thing that is really holding people back. So guys, like, I want you just to ask yourself a question again, because we're interacting. Okay. What if you got to talk with God about deeper things beyond your needs? What if? What if you could talk to God more about what are we going to able to what can we create in the world together, Father? Like what if you could speak with God on a higher level than just begging for survival and just enough and to pay your bills and to have a savings and to have an emergency fund or things like that? What if you could do that? Or beg God for a future retirement? Like what if you could have a deeper faith, and what if staying at this level is actually keeping you at a shallow faith? Because guys, imagine like if you could just talk with God every day about what adventure is next. Like, wouldn't prayer feel so much more like intimate? Wouldn't it feel so amazing? Like if you could have these deep, rich conversations with God, like these adventures, like, man, what's next? God, we've got more than enough and we're blessing all these people. Like, who do you want us to serve next? Like, what are the things and the opportunities and the places where we could serve next? And have those types of conversations with him. And guys, I just is saying this because I don't believe we can show up as powerfully in the world when we are stuck in debt or just enough or just getting by, and you only have just enough for you and you don't have enough to be able to, not just for you and your family, but for others in need. I believe that we show up the most powerfully in the world when we have more than enough, not just for ourselves, but for others, because that means we can be a bigger blessing. It's more blessed to give than to receive. So guys, if you're at a place where again you want to go from desperation before God all the time to exploration with God, what's next? What could we do together? How could we make an impact together? When you're not having to always think about you and your bills and the future and the unknown, and you could actually think about the exciting things, the place from a place of abundance, from the place of we're not still stuck in Egypt, right? Where we're in slavery and laying bricks and just barely and only can think about that. Like, what if we could actually get to the place of the promised land? Like, what if we could have the honey and and all the abundance there? Because guys, and guys, here's the thing, like even with Israel, they were addicted. There was a part of them that was like it was like a slavery in their like a slavery minds mentality in their subconscious. They were drawn back to that because it was a place of safety and comfort. Even though it was bondage, they kept gravitating back to wanting to be in that place of bondage. Even when they got to the promised land, they kept going back and end up at other people's slaves, because like, man, it's like, well, at least they provide for me, at least I can have something stable or whatever it would be. It's like there was a part of them was drawn to that. They couldn't receive the abundance God had for them. And I believe that the reason why so many of you are stuck is because you don't know how to receive abundance, because you believe there's some kind of maybe even spiritual, like I said, payoff or reward by staying stuck here that you don't want to give up. That's really not true, but you've made it true. Maybe you heard a pastor say it. Maybe you took a Bible verse out of context. Maybe you heard it in a small group. Maybe a friend said it. Maybe your parents said it. And eventually you believed it and you took it on. Or you're afraid of what you're being punished and what would happen, that you'd be a worse person, you'd be judged. Maybe you're afraid of losing your friends or family over it. Guys, there are literally hundreds and thousands of beliefs that come up here that we see that we have to deal with people. And guys, If you don't deal with these and you don't have an expert that can help you identify those and remove them from your lives and replace them with the truth that's going to actually get you to be able to not only desire abundance but to seek it out without feeling guilty or ashamed or afraid, and then actually sustain it and keep it, guys, like if you don't have an expert like that, you're going to find yourself, you keep getting sucked back into the black hole, keep getting sucked back in to like, why do I keep ending up here? It's been years, it's been decades. I'm too old. I've been doing this for too long. I work too hard. I make too much money for us to keep staying stuck here. So guys, again, if that's you, if you feel like, man, Jeremy, like this totally resonates. I just don't know how to identify it. I don't know how to replace it. I don't know what to do. Like, where do I even begin? I know it's way more complicated than just this. And it is. And that's why it takes weeks. And that's why we work with people. And that's why we ultimately always invite you guys, if you are struggling, book a call with us. Because what we're going to do is help you figure out really what is it that's keeping you stuck, but ultimately, where do you want to be financially? And ultimately figure out what's the best solution for you. And guys, if we can help you, and we really believe that, man, there are beliefs like this, there are fears like this, there are struggles like this keeping you stuck. And yes, you need a strategy. Yes, you need a plan. Yes, you need to know how to do all of the, you need to know how to, negotiate. You need to know how to, deserve, earn your worth. You need to know how to be able to, control your money. You need to know how to, all of these different things. You need to know that kind of strategy stuff. That's all important. But guys, I promise you, any one of our clients that, that watches it, if any of you guys watch this, they're usually just watching our trainings and things like that, but all these Facebook lives. But anyone that sees that here, or anyone that has watched this or gone through our program, knows that. And if you watch any of our interviews, it's like you're going to see that constantly people keep coming back to what shifted more than anything was my mindset. It was my belief. It was my subconscious. It were those fears. It was those false beliefs. It were those lies. It were those, all of these things that were really keeping us stuck. Even recently we're talking to a couple, amazing couple. It was such a beautiful call that we had with them. And like the biggest thing is, like, the husband had been told for years, when he was growing up, you're not going to amount to anything. You're worthless. And when we talk on the phone, he's like, Jeremy, I'm making probably half of what I should be making and could be making. But he's like, but I'm still here. And it doesn't make any sense, because all of his financial goals totally, kind of butted heads with ultimately what he knew. But like he kept finding himself like, I keep finding myself stuck here, not making what I deserve, still struck paycheck to paycheck, not having real abundance and freedom, knowing that I could. Again, he knew what he wanted, he knew what he could do, but there was some part of him that was so afraid of taking action that was keeping him stuck. And that's why I said, hey, we can, it's like, hey, we can teach you all the strategy in the world, and we're going to teach him that, and we're going to show him how to do some of these practical things. But it's not like he doesn't know the mechanics. There's some part of him that, like, he's been told he's a screw up his whole life, and he's afraid he's going to screw it up. He's going to fail. He doesn't see the value in him. Ultimately, he doesn't know how to own it more powerfully, because he doesn't see it himself first. Guys, if you don't see the value in you, how in the world can you expect someone else to see it in you and pay you what you're worth? You can't. And that's just, again, guys, I'm just giving you so many freebies and goodies right now. Like, guys, I'm telling you, if you've made it this far, I promise you guys, this is the stuff that is not being talked about in the common literature, in the common books, in the common, financial programs. And if you've been through some of that stuff and you're like, man, I finally am starting to get what makes this so different. And again, guys, all the strategy stuff is important. Okay, like, you need to know how to do a budget. Like, those are important. It's like we've never had anyone else that comes to us, and anyone come to us that is actually doing that right. Okay, something like that, again, that's an important concept. You need to know how to do things like that. But that is not the main thing. We see people that have budgets rocking all the time, but then big whoop-de-doo, even on some of these shows, like, oh, we're debt free. Okay, great, but we're in abundance. Where's the, like, we have more than enough? Where's the, we've actually sustained it? A lot of those people that you see that get out of debt or end up getting a savings, they end up right back, and they end up right back, and they end up right back, and they end up right back. But you don't see that. And it's because ultimately those systems and those teachings are not designed to root out and replace, to root out the old negative programming and replace it with the programming and the beliefs and the subconscious information and truth, and rewiring to actually be able to sustain that and keep them there and help them actually go into a place of now wealth building and transformation for the entire world with their money, and being able to make the biggest impact. So again, guys, if you need help, go to dreamteammarriage.com. And if you've made it this far, I definitely know if you haven't booked a call with us yet, you're going to want to now, because guys, that's what makes us so different, is because we weave in things like this that are truly the biggest breakthroughs for people. It's what's going on in your mindset. It's what's going on in your psychology. This is why all the other stuff out there, it's like it usually is just a little shot in the arm. It's a little like it gives you a little bit of pep in your step for a few days, and then before you know it, you're right back in the same old problems. It's because you have to know how to be able to root out all the stuff that's been keeping you stuck subconsciously, and be able to replace it with what's actually going to help you sustain wealth and build it, and not just and yeah, and get out of debt and be able to transform your marriage and all of that stuff and earn your worth and increase your income and all that stuff too. And this is just a small fraction of the type of stuff that we're working with people with, but this is why people get such massive breakthroughs. And this is why ultimately when you see our interviews and things like that, people constantly talk about like, yeah, like we paid off all this debt, we're saving all this stuff, but like what really shifted was what was going on here. And when you can master this, you can master your future and your destiny. When you can master what's going on internally, you realize, oh my gosh, like I am the problem, but I'm also the solution. And really that's what was keeping you stuck more than anything. It was the subconscious, beliefs and programs and things like that that have been keeping you stuck for decades. And when you guys can get those rooted out of your life, I'm telling you guys, everything opens up to you and anything is possible. So again, guys, if you need help, go to dreamteammarriage.com. We would love to serve you. And if we can help you, we'll let you guys know. If not, we will let you know that too. So go to dreamteammarriage.com and we will serve you guys. We will love you guys. And again, if we can help you, we'll let you know. If not, we'll be upfront and point you in the best direction. But either way, we're going to get you a breakthrough. We're going to help you guys really figure out what's wrong and ultimately where you want to go, and help you guys create a step-by-step process and a plan to get there. So again, guys, it was great being with you tonight. I know this is a little bit later than I usually do, but I was just feeling it. It was on my heart. And I knew that somebody out there, at least one of you, I know that all of you that watch it are going to get some massive breakthroughs and some ahas, but I knew at least one of you needed it. So I wanted to share this with you guys, and share this with your friends, share this with your family. Maybe this is your spouse and you're like, maybe for you, you were like, oh my gosh, this was me. I need this. Share this with your spouse too. And if you haven't already, book a call with us and we'll sit down and we'll see if we can help you guys. And guys, I'm telling you, like when you learn things like this is the gold. This is the stuff that's not being talked about. I honestly shared more than with you than I've ever shared before about what are some of the insider things and some of the secrets. This is what millionaires and billionaires are talking about behind closed doors, that most people think they're talking about, like, okay, hey, what's the next stock or things like that. It's not that. The main thing that they're talking about is how to create a bulletproof mindset and psychology that allows you to be able to achieve anything that you want. And these are the types of things you have to overcome in order to get there. So again, guys, dreamteammarriage.com will serve you. We'll figure out what's keeping you stuck. And ultimately, guys, again, share this with somebody that needs this. I know that there's some of you guys that really need this. And again, ultimately, guys, listen to this again if you need to, comment, let us know if you have any questions on this. But ultimately, again, guys, book the call if you need the help. And love you guys. Have a great night. God bless you. And let's get after this thing, guys. The world needs us. You have to get through these sorts of things in order to make the transformation, the impact that you want. You cannot transform the world if you're constantly consumed by your own little world, because that's what happens when you're constantly in this place. You have to move out from scarcity and you have to move into a place of more than enough so that you can really focus on the needs of others and you can really make the impact God is calling you to make on this earth. So guys, together we can change the world, but it starts with overcoming the things that we're talking about tonight and really choosing from this day forward, I'm going to break through. I'm going to get the help that I need. I'm going to get the transformation that we need so that we can finally live out the calling that's on our lives. So have a great night, guys. God bless you guys. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.